United Hour, your one-stop shop for all things Manchester United. I'm your host, Nick.
And I'm Imran.
Yeah, we've been a bit delayed recording this because we were waiting for some interesting news to discuss. We had that early transfer of Matheus Cunha, and then it's dragged out for the next one. But we will be talking about another transfer. Bryan Mbeumo has been signed. We have also now started pre-season with one kind of drab game, I guess, against Leeds United. And we're now heading off to USA. Did you manage to watch any of that Leeds United game, Imran?
I did not watch a single second. I think I saw like a brief highlight of how we nearly scored at the end, but other than that, I wasn't really into it.
Well, we will still discuss that game, but we are going to kick off with the transfer news because this time of year, that's what everybody's interested in. Normally, we try and get our head transfer honcho, Jamie, on the pod, but he could not make it for this one. But we have asked him to record the kind of update on where we're at on various situations. So I think, Imran, you've got that and you'll add that in, right?
Yep, here he is. Jamie, take it away.
Hey there, troops. Welcome to Jamie's Transfer Muppet Corner. I'm just going to give you a very quick rundown for you and the guys on some of the activity that's been going on. So in the last week, we have seen the transfer activity pick up quite a bit. And first and most importantly, that is Bryan Mbeumo now signed 65 million in a fixed fee with 6 million in add-ons, and it looks to be structured in the same way as the Cunha deal, where it's not going to be paid up front and it's not even going to be half now. It's actually only going to be as much as 20 million for him in the first instalment, which means this summer we've only spent about 40 million so far on Bryan Mbeumo and Cunha, which is pretty good going considering we don't have a lot of cash to play with. It does seem as though Brentford have mucked us about a little bit, and I don't think Man United are too impressed with the way that they've conducted themselves. Constantly changing the fee and looking for other things as well. So, yeah, I don't think the relation between United and Brentford is great at the moment, but it's done. So that's our two main transfer targets signed before the start of the tour, which is excellent. And worth noting as well, the young guy Diego Leon is now here, and he even took part in the game on Saturday. So we do have 3 new faces in for the tour, which is pretty good going. So it now looks like for the rest of the incomings, we're going to be looking at a goalie, a defensive mid and a striker. For the goalkeeper, the strongest link is for Sene Lamens from Royal Antwerp. He is a 6'3" goalkeeper who is only 23 years old, rather. And the Belgian media seem to think we're going to be able to get him for around about 13 to 17 million, which is pretty good. The data that I've had a look at does suggest he's pretty good in the air, coming to claim for crosses and punching. He's quite physical, and we know with the Premier League that is a very good attribute to have. His shot stopping is pretty good, and he seems quite vocal with his defenders. While he's decent at his passing, I don't know if it's a strength of his, but focusing more fundamentally on the actual aspects of goalkeeping because of the two that we have, that does seem to be a good improvement. So hopefully we can get that one over the line. It does look like a striker is going to be the other big target for us over the next few weeks. There's nothing really concrete. Apparently we inquired about Ekitike last week, but it became very obvious that he was only wanting Liverpool. It looks like our name is actually being used to drum up interest in Gyökeres. That comes from both Ornstein and Romano, where apparently intermediaries have said to us, do we want to get involved with the bidding and seeing if we can actually get ourselves into Gyökeres' head. But apparently he only wants Arsenal, so I can't see that happening. So that leaves Benjamin Sesko and Watkins and Jackson as well, but he does seem the least likely. Watkins, Premier League proven, good player coming off his best season last year, and to be honest, with the state of our squad, I would quite like him. I think he would offer quite a lot. Sesko, he's a good player, yeah, but I don't think his stats are actually that great from the German league last year, and he is another young player. I'm just not sure that's what we need at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see what direction we go in. Finally, defensive mid, there's really not a lot to go on at all, even kind of temperamental links or anything like that. There is just nothing at the moment. The only thing I can say is it looks like we're actually going to keep Sekou Kone rather than send him out on loan. I'm unsure what to make of that. I don't know if that means we're just going to see what happens in the defensive mid area. If something comes up, we'll go for it, or is it somewhere that we actually are targeting? Maybe they just think the boy Coney has shown a lot of promise and they want to keep him around the squad, similar to Diego Leon. I'm really not sure. So we'll just need to see what happens over the next few weeks there. For the outgoings, we expect Rashford to be confirmed probably on Wednesday. Looking at a couple of Spanish sources, seems like he has taken a wage cut to do the loan move. And now Barcelona are going to pay the full amount. They also have a £30 million option they can take up next summer, but it does look like, hilariously, there might be registration issues like there has been for other players that Barcelona have signed. I think it's time for him to move on. I think he should have moved on before now. I'm not particularly happy about it because I did think he was a good player for us, but it's just ran its course for me, and I think it's probably about time, so at least that one is done. One that I thought would have been done is Sancho, but it does look like Ornstein has now poured cold water on any links with him and Juve, saying any information he's got says that there was nothing in that at all. And to be honest, he said he'd be surprised if he moves anywhere at this point because there's nothing really concrete, which is disappointing, but I think something we all expected. Looking at the rest of the bomb squad, Anthony, nothing advanced. He wants to go to Betis, but Betis I just don't think are going to pay what we would want for him. They just don't do that. And the only other link is for Atletico, but that's very weak. So Anthony, yeah, I don't really see anything advanced for him at the moment. Garnacho seems like he's finally getting some attention from Premier League clubs, and a few seem to think he's going to be available for 40 million or so, including Villa. That'd be interesting because we're looking at Watkins and we've looked at Martinez. So maybe there might be a bit of mucking about with fees, and we pay X amount, Villa pay X amount, and we swap Garnacho with, say, Watkins. I don't really know. That's just speculation, but we'll see what happens. And the last one is Malacia. Absolutely no links to anywhere at all. Seems like even though his wage isn't astronomical, there might be an issue with that because Celtic inquired about him, and it does look like it was too high even for them. So it'd be interesting to see what we have to do with Malacia, because it doesn't look likely that he's going to go anywhere either. And just finally, it does now look like, according to Ornstein, there's a good chance Højlund might actually go now this summer. If we're now focusing on a striker and we need someone else to go to try and generate some kind of incomings, he might be the one to go. And then obviously because he's a striker, that then just frees up quite a big space up front to actually go and get someone else. So yeah, a lot's happened in the last week. Seems like things might finally be moving a little bit quicker. The tour, I think they all fly out today. This is Tuesday. So yeah, it will be interesting to see if anything else happens over the next week or so. But hopefully for all us transfer Muppets there will be. But yeah, any other updates, just check in with the forum, check in with us guys, and listen to the next few podcasts, and I'll be on those either for the full hour or perhaps I might even just do more of these updates. But until then, cheers, troops.
So yeah, that's a good summary of all our news. Jamie likes to sift through which bits of news are serious and which bits are just rumour. As all our regular listeners will know, I take very little interest in all the gossip this time of year. Unless it arrives on BBC, then I'm like, okay, that is serious news. And look, the big one is that we finally have managed to seal the signing of Bryan Mbeumo. It's down to 65 million officially, plus a potential extra 6 million. So yeah, more expensive than Matheus Cunha that we did at 62.5. I think we slightly overpaid here, but a few million here and there probably isn't going to make much difference, is it, Imran?
Not really, no. And I think it's one of those where I think if we'd gone in at the beginning of the window and slapped down 62 million, they probably would have accepted it, or same as Cunha, 63.5 or whatever it is. Where they probably would have accepted, but the longer it's dragged on, and the more you've seen Elanga go for 55 million, Madueke go for 52 million. There was another the Brighton João Pedro, similar fee. Then you're thinking actually Brentford are probably whacking a couple million more on what they originally thought, which I kind of understand. That seemingly is the benchmark for players in this window, and ultimately, Bryan Mbeumo has better output than any of those players. If Noni Madueke costs 52 million, then yeah, Bryan Mbeumo probably does cost an extra 10, 15 million, if not more. So you kind of get it. Is it expensive? Yes. Is everyone expensive? Yes. Do we have a good player? Yes. Am I worried? No. I think he's gonna. I'm pretty certain on this one. I have to say.
Are you out of the two transfers? Who are you more certain about?
I'm more certain about Mbeumo, to be honest with you. I think Cunha obviously has that. He's got probably more quality, I would say, about him, but he's also got a bit more of a maverick and a bit more of a loose cannon, you could say. So you can see a scenario where it goes a bit. I don't think it will happen. I think Cunha will be a good signing as well, but you can see a scenario where it all goes a bit tits up. Whereas I think Mbeumo, solid, going to put up some solid numbers. He's a good player, and you've got to be happy with the signing, really.
Yeah, I mean, interesting. I mean, not big difference, but I'm actually more excited about Matheus Cunha. I think he's slightly higher quality, got that bit more pedigree being a Brazilian international. He did have a big move earlier in his career. He was at Atletico Madrid, didn't quite go right, so he's had to come back to Wolves and work his way back up to a big club. And Mbeumo, I look at his stats and I just slightly worry, did he have a one standout season last season? Because he's never done anything like that before. He's been a solid player before that, but last season really stands out in numbers for him. He's chipped in with goals and assists every year, but he's never been one that was really top of anyone's radars until last year. And he kind of stepped up last year when they lost Ivan Toney moved up, right? And then he became that one who filled the gap, really. I think,
but like I said, he's always been a decent player, though. Last season, like I said, was the standout, 20 goals, 7 assists, but he's always been a decent player for Brentford. It's not like he's just a one-season wonder sort of thing.
Yeah, but it was only one season where he's kind of stood out and then been linked with bigger teams. And if we believe the hype, Tottenham, Newcastle were all sort of bidding for him, which is why we've ended up apparently in a bit of a bidding war and had to end up paying more than we wanted to. He's a Cameroon international, even though he's actually French-born and played kind of all French youth level, but I guess wasn't considered good enough to play for France. So he's moved on to Cameroon. Whether they would reconsider that today, who knows? Because now he's definitely committed himself to Cameroon going forward. We're expecting him to play, I guess, more on the right side, whereas Cunha is supposed to be more left side. Although I don't know whether Cunha is our centre-forward signing of this summer. I've been crying out for a centre-forward for a long, long time. I know there is now a bit more links to a few centre-forwards. I still think it is the main position we need to fill. But there's been a lack of great centre-forwards for a few years now, hasn't there?
Yeah, they're a premium, as you can tell by the fee that Liverpool played for Ekitike, for example. I don't know. I can't pronounce that word, so I'm just going to go with that. Will Cunha and Mbeumo play up top at some point in the season? Probably. I don't think they're going to be strikers, though. I think they are predominantly going to be in those number 10 positions. I think should the game situation arise or injuries arise, I think you might see one of them up top. But in general, they'll be in those number 10 positions. It's also worth saying for the Mbeumo deal, as Jamie pointed out, we are paying for it in instalments, and that is a very good thing for us. I think with him and Cunha, I think the outlay for this season is going to be between the 20-30 million mark, something like that. So that is a good thing in terms of us being able to now hopefully go buy a striker that I'm not convinced we actually will, because it's really, as I said, it's a premium position and it's really hard to see who's actually available in the market at the moment.
Yeah, there is a few names we're still linked to, and I know Gyökeres has not moved yet, for example, so we're still being connected to him, but it sounds like he wants to go to Arsenal. I do actually expect Cunha to play centre-forward for us, possibly even a fair bit, depends on transfers. I was looking at his numbers last year of where he was playing, and he did start the majority of the time in a kind of left attacking mid, 45% of the time, but he played a third of the season starting games as the striker for Wolves, like 34% of the time, and then a few times he was playing more kind of centre attacking mid and a couple of times on the right as well. But I think that he is one who is definitely considered, if not a main striker, a decent option. As much as somebody like Zirkzee, that was a question we always had about him. Is he a striker? Is he a number 10? What is he? That's my only worry at the moment, that we have a lot of these kind of players where you're like, where exactly are they going to play? Whereas in Mbeumo, I don't necessarily expect to see him playing up front. I think some people might be quite surprised at how short Bryan Mbeumo actually is. He's not your big centre forward in any way whatsoever. And I do expect him to be more of that creator, more of the one who's putting in assists. And maybe with players like that who are more creative, we can bring something out of Rasmus Højlund. Although, as Jamie mentioned, he is potentially being linked with leaving the club. We'll have to see what happens with that as well. But for me, striker is still the hole. We need to understand what the plan is for that. What's next on your list?
Goalkeeper, it is. Goalkeeper. We need a goalkeeper. I'm desperate for a goalkeeper. I do not want to see, and I will see, unfortunately, but I don't want to see Andre Onana as our number one. This lad from Royal Antwerp, if we get him in and he's any good, I think he'll displace Onana fairly rapidly. I've said a few times, I honestly think if Onana is our number one keeper, then maybe not just because of that, but because of certainly that being a factor, then Amorim will be gone by Christmas because we won't be able to perform anywhere decently with him in net because we'll just give too many stupid goals away from him being absolutely crap. So, yeah, goalkeeper number one for me with striker slightly behind. But yeah, we've added goals in Cunha and Mbeumo, which kind of takes it away slightly from that striking position. I just can't bear to see Onana in net. I can't bear it.
Of course, it is now announced that Andre Onana is injured and will probably miss the start of the season. I would assume that might now change the whole situation. I don't know if they were looking at a goalie anyway. It's also worth adding in that this is an AFCON year, African Cup of Nations. So whatever happens, Andre Onana will be missing for a few weeks around kind of December, January time. So I think with his injury, with the AFCON, that the club should be looking at other options. I have never heard of this Belgian goalie before. I was just having a look at his stats. I can see he's not actually played for Belgium national team. He's played at all of their kind of youth levels. So maybe he's like an up-and-coming guy over there, but I cannot claim to have any knowledge on him whatsoever. But
I have zero knowledge on him, and I still believe he's better than Onana.
What, because he's got two hands and gloves on?
Yep.
I think the next step in our transfers is going to be a lot about outgoings. They're calling them the bomb squad, the ones who are personas non grata, not welcome at training at the moment. We know that Rashford and Garnacho are training separately at Carrington. Rashford seems to have got his dream move. I knew a lot of people, whenever they talked about Barcelona, say there is no way Barcelona are going to be interested in Marcus Rashford, but they're wrong. It looks like this deal is happening. It's disappointing for me that it's going to be yet again one of these loans with an option. And whenever we send off players with an option, that option is never taken. They come back to us every single time. And although with somebody like Sancho, I think that option wasn't taken because he simply wasn't good enough. I think with Rashford, it's often more about how much the transfer fee is, how much his salary is. I think what was Villa's option last time? I think they had a 40 million option.
40 million, yeah.
And I do think that we killed that by stopping Villa from going to the Champions League. I think they might have taken Marcus Rashford. I don't know if salary still would have been a stumbling block, but Villa seemed to like him. They were playing him ahead of Ollie Watkins. That's also the weird thing. We seem to be linked to Watkins, and I think the reason he wants out from Villa is because he got pissed off that Marcus Rashford started all those big games ahead of him at the end of last season. I think that's the only reason he wants out at Villa and might become an option for us. If we can get somebody like that, it would be absolutely top of my list. Premier League proven, even though he's the wrong side of his peak in age now. I think he's still
cost too much money though. I can't imagine Villa doing anything below 40 odd 50 million. And at that price, you wonder if it's prohibitive to go after someone like Watkins.
Well, because of his age, yeah.
Because of his age, ability. I mean, his numbers
ability,
speak for,
I have no question. I'm only just worried now about.
His numbers
he
speak
started
for himself,
picking up.
But there's always something about him. I don't know what it is, but his numbers absolutely speak for themselves. He bangs them in the Premier League. There is something about him that I'm never really that impressed by him, but that's just me.
I've always been a fan of Ollie Watkins. He's not like a world-class striker. We see sometimes he's played for England and doesn't quite hit it at an international level. But as I said, there's a dearth of top quality strikers nowadays. So I think you have to just accept that we're not finding Robin van Persie or Ruud van Nistelrooy, but we just need somebody who's better than Rasmus Højlund, which, based on last season, shouldn't be that difficult. And I remember on this podcast, even the summer we bought Højlund, I was saying, wait a minute, if we're outlaying 60, 70 million quid for this raw, slightly unknown striker from Italy, why are we not slapping that down for somebody like Ollie Watkins? I was talking about him that summer indeed. And yeah, he's kept it going. He's solid. That my only worry for him at this age. Has he hit his peak and is he on the downhill now? I don't know. We don't know. But yeah, let's see. There could be something in this. Apparently they're interested in Garnacho. So if there's some kind of swap or whatever, I don't know. But often these swap deals never come to anything either. But yeah, they're the ones we need to get out. Sancho.
The Garnacho one is really weird because I really thought there'd be a big market for him. He's really young. He's got good numbers for someone his age. He's not on a big wage like a lot of our players. I'm just surprised there's not more of a market for him, really.
I mean, yeah, he was linked to Napoli, wasn't he? Chelsea sniffed around him in
apparently
January.
Chelsea are back in for him. Jamie forgot to mention that on his little update, but apparently Chelsea are back in for him for somewhere like 40, 50. But if Elanga's going for 55, if Madueke is going for 52, then we shouldn't be asking for any less than 50 for Garnacho, personally.
Definitely. There's also Anthony. I think he would love to move to Real Betis. The problem is that they don't have any money. Even at about 30 million, I think he'd be their record transfer. So yeah, I don't know what's happening with him. And then yeah, Sancho, few vague links, but yeah, we need to get these players out. And it's a shame if we're just getting them out on loan, but sometimes there's no other option. I feel a bit sorry for Tyrell Malacia, who gets put in this kind of bomb squad list. I mean, he's never done anything against the club or anything. And to be fair, neither has Anthony. Apart from being rubbish, he's never slagged off the club or caused a problem with the manager like the other three. It's just like one you need to get rid of. But Malacia, I remember we did a pod where we said, has there ever been a player who's been out for that long and come back? And I don't think there has. So, player, if you're out for more than a year, then, it's going to be difficult ever to come back at top level. So, yeah, we'll see what manages to happen with him. I think we will take a quick break there, come back, talk a bit more about the squad transfers, but then, yeah, have a look at what's happening in pre-season. Back for part 2 of the podcast. Still other stuff to talk about around the squad, around the climb, but let's have a look. Look, there was that Leeds game that's happened already. It was our first pre-season game on the weekend. They were out in Stockholm. It was 0-0. So, yeah, not the most exciting of matches. But I think the only things that you're kind of interested in looking at this point in the season is who's starting games, in what position are they in? And even performances are not that interesting. I mean, it was Matheus Cunha's debut. Looking at the lineups, the things that kind of stood out to me was Amad Diallo is starting in that kind of right fullback wing position. Diego Leon, he's our random one that we signed out in January. Young Paraguayan left fullback. And he starts this game as well. Toby Collier comes in for midfield with Casemiro, and then Bruno plays more kind of forward with Cunha. And Obi Martin starts up front. We can't read much into these starting lineups, but I think the positional things are interesting, especially around people like Ahmad, for example. I don't know if there's much else what you picked out from this Leeds game.
Not really. I do think the Ahmad one is the most interesting because the suspicion is he will be a right wing back. With just how many people we've got in those 10 positions. You've got Cunha, Mbeumo, Mount, Zirkzee, Bruno, although Bruno's probably going to play more of a centre midfielder, as this game also kind of indicated. So you'd think Ahmad, right wing back. I mean, we do need to be more offensively minded in those wing back positions, so I don't think it's a bad move. People will argue that you're not getting the best out of him there because he is, more dangerous. He's one of our most dangerous players based on last season. But I quite like him at right wing back, so I don't mind it.
Yeah, sometimes I do think we miss out because he was one of our best attackers. But in this system, those wing backs are quite attacking players as well. So we'll have to see how he rolls on there. I'm surprised that we're not linked to anybody else in the wing back positions. I still think that we need another one. I'm still kind of a bit unsure about Dorgu. And Mazraoui for me is much better in those centre-back positions. Same with Luke Shaw. So I think we're still lacking in that area. Whether Diego Leon is really going to be part of our squad this season is a big question. I thought that he was kind of one for the future. We signed him in January, let him stay at his club, and I thought that he might have been one that now came and had a loan, like maybe in La Liga or something like that. But they're obviously having a close look at him, and the talk at the moment is that he's going to stay part of the squad and that Harry Amas is going to go out on loan. He played quite a few games at the end of last season, looked decent, if not like solid, but not spectacular. And I thought maybe he's going to be further ahead of somebody like Leon, who's coming straight in from Paraguayan league. But I don't know, let's see. I guess Ruben Amorim is taking this time now to have a really close look at him and decide if he's a serious option for being a Premier League player next season or not. And it's not going to be half a match against Leeds that's going to tell us that. I assume he'll play a fair bit of the US tour. We are now flying out to USA. First game against West Ham on Sunday night. It's like kind of midnight. And then we've got Bournemouth Thursday, 2:30 a.m. Everton Sunday again, late kickoff, but at least watchable at 10 o'clock. And then we're back. One friendly at Old Trafford versus Fiorentina on the 9th of August. And a week later, this season kicks off against Arsenal. So we're only a few weeks away, when it's not even a month to the start of the season. Hardly feels like we've had a break with Club World Cup and all these things going on in the meantime. We also had that kind of mini Asian tour. But just weeks to go to the start. Will you be at that first game of the season, Imran, against Arsenal?
I will be. Actually looking forward to it. That's what, summer away from United can do. I remember feeling like I never want to watch this team again after the Europa League final, but give it a few weeks and I'm raring to go for that Arsenal game. I'm sure at 90 minutes after that Arsenal game, it's either going to be the best season in the world if we win, or doom and gloom if we lose, but we'll see. I actually think it might be a draw, that game. I have a funny feeling it'll just be kind of a draw. We seem to do all right against Arsenal at Old Trafford, so it's not actually a bad start for us. We tend to, I like to think we have a decent record against them. Even last season we should have won that game against Arsenal, shouldn't we? We drew 1-1, but we should have beaten them then. It's hard to know how things are going to go. I mean, tangentially, a Leeds fan who's a mate of mine watched the Leeds and United game, and he said basically that it was pretty much the same Man United as last season, which kind of makes sense. We've not had that much training time before this game anyway. It was just pre-season stuff. So you'd hope, things take more shape now, getting onto the training pitch, getting the formation drilled, etc., and we see a different outlook going into the season. And then obviously new players coming in, new goalkeeper, hopefully, new striker, maybe a new midfielder, and then things will look very different. But it's still a lot of moving parts to go, and it's still very early in the pre-season.
Yeah, that's the thing. We did hope we'd have some more players in by now. When Cunha was done early, we were like, oh, brilliant. Ineos are now getting their business done quickly. Let's get this all sorted before pre-season. In the end, Mbeumo has dragged on much longer than we all wanted, but at least he is now in before we head out to USA and will be part of that tour.
I think we'd have thought we'd have had more players out as well, but actually we haven't got any players out yet, officially.
Garnacho, Rashford, I guess, is kind of verbally
on the pretty much
not official.
Yeah, not official. Sancho, we thought we'd got rid of, and he's like the fly that won't die. So, yeah.
No, and like Rashford again, now they're talking about Barcelona getting an option at I think about £25 million, which to me is ridiculously low. But we know that the problem is his massive, massive salary, and why that's going to be an issue. And it's the same with Sancho. It's why we just struggle to get rid of these players. Even Anthony as well.
Rashford's taking a pay cut to go to Barcelona for this year. And I do think if Barca stepped up the cash, if Barca put up that 25 mil at the end of the season, I think Rashford would have lower wage demands to move there permanently if the loan goes well. I think he's, you say what you want about Rashford, but I do think he's that type of character, whereas you can't say the same about Sancho, obviously.
No, and Rashford did well on loan at Villa, showed that there is still something in him. I'll still say it's a big shame the way it's all worked out for him, but there is now more stories about poor behaviour off the pitch, too many late nights, and I think we know by now that Marcus Rashford is surrounded by the wrong people. and not maybe getting the right advice, not making sure his feet are kept on the ground, and it's why things have not gone right for him. But yeah, I hope he still does well in La Liga. All these players, of course, are now fighting and thinking about that it's a World Cup year. And Rashford, I'm sure, thinks that he should be in the England squad playing at the World Cup. Sancho, well, I don't know if he even cares anymore. It seems like he's not that bothered about his career and just wants to take whatever cash he can get at the moment and flit around. But Rashford is a different story. We'll see from there. As I say, for us, when we're still looking for a striker and all that, you just go, could we not have sorted this out? And I do think as well that it's a bit weird how we've pushed these players out and almost like devalued them ourselves, made it totally obvious they're not even going to be part of training. You know, Rashford's shirt was given away before he'd even left us. And I was like, surely we're putting ourselves in a worse position so I don't fully understand it personally.
I think it was obvious with the Rashford. I mean, the way it's gone on, I think the Rashford and Sancho, that's obvious. The Garnacho one, I do think that a little bit. I think we could have made it less obvious we wanted rid. I think that puts. I mean, you can still, put the feelers out and do the talk that you want. He is for sale and stuff, but you can do it less obviously. Whereas now it's quite obviously bombed out, and that will obviously have an impact on the fee we get for him when it shouldn't really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have had little bits of money in when we talk about outs from other players that we had sell-on clauses off. I mean, Elanga has moved, and I think we had a 15% on him. It's not big. I think we'll end up getting like 6-7 million from that deal there. I mean, are you surprised to see somebody like Elanga, who left us for 15, kind of 20 million, now go on to a much bigger move?
I am surprised. I mean, I happy to admit I was wrong on him. I thought he was not very good, and I was fairly happy we sold him, but he's obviously kicked on quite a bit. I don't think he's worth 55 million, I will say that. I think that's a big overpay, but then all of these are big overpays, like I said. But, good on him. Good to see a United graduate doing well. He is, he's really quick. He's really, really quick, and that's going to help him, and he's sort of sorted out his end product. Still don't think it's great, which is why I'm not sure on the fee, but, fair play to him.
Yeah, no, I was a bit surprised, to be honest. I still don't think he's that great. It's not one that was like, oh my God, we lost such a great player. So I was surprised they paid that much for him. He wasn't even an absolute regular Nottingham Forest starter. He played a fair bit, but he also was on the bench a fair bit. So yeah, for him to get such a big move, I'm surprised by. But let's see how he does. Newcastle obviously going to be in the Champions League. The one that I remember saying on this podcast, I cannot believe they were letting this player go full stop and letting him go for that cheap, was Alvaro Carreras, who went off to Benfica for an absolute paltry 5 million quid. And I remember it was that winter where we had Reguilon. We had no fullbacks. We let Reguilon go on the premise that Shaw or Malacia were coming back from injury. Neither of them did. And I remember saying at the time, it's absolutely crazy that we didn't bring back Alvaro Carreras, who at the time was having a really good season in the Championship at Preston, went on to Benfica, has done very well, and is now at Real Madrid. And we let him go for 5 million quid. You look at how much Man City, Liverpool get for like fringe players. I saw Chelsea the other day got like 25 million quid for some reserve goalie that I didn't even know existed. And like we let go an under 21 Spanish international for 5 million quid. And even now, we get like, we've got 20% of this sell-on, but it's only going to net us another 8 million quid. So in the end, we let him go for like kind of 13 million. And he was a Spanish under-21 international and is now at Real Madrid. It's madness. And it's a position that I still think we're actually lacking in that kind of full-back, wing-back. So yeah, it's just another one on the list of absolutely mental transfers at our club.
I mean, you can thank Eric Ten Hag and his absolutely dreadful judge of ability for that one, because he just refused to play him. Mikey refused to play Ahmad because he's an absolutely terrible judge of footballing ability. Yeah, I think that was a Ten Hag led one. It was poor from the club though. That is really poor, especially to sell him for 5 million, but then only get a 20% sell on is weird. We got a bigger sell on the Greenwood one, haven't we? Isn't Greenwood like 50%?
Well, Greenwood's the one that I'm always looking at the media saying, I hope there's some links for, because yeah, we've got a 50% sell on for him. So that is the one that you think.
If you're selling a youngster for 5 million, that's the kind of sell on fee you should be after. 50%. I mean, that's poor really from us.
Yeah, sadly, there's no kind of links with Mason Greenwood. I think he's pretty happy at Marseille. He had a very good season for them, finished top scorer in France. And I guess he's just happy to play somewhere settled now, and they will go into the Champions League. They also picked up Angel Gomez for nothing. I thought we might have had a sniff at bringing him back for a free transfer, but he's joined Greenwood out at Marseille now. But no, not over there. We will take one more break over there before we come back for the last bit, round up, and see what we're looking ahead to with the season coming up. Back for the last part of this podcast. Look, it is all about transfers at the moment. It's difficult for us to have any kind of expectation for the season until we clear up these ins and outs. I mean, I still base anything I'm expecting for the season on the fact that we will get at least, say, 2, if not 3 more new players in. Do you think I'm ahead of expectations there, or what do you reckon, Imran?
I think we'll get... I don't know if the noises are, it seems that we are definitely in for a striker, but it's just impossible to see who that striker is currently. But we do need one, and we definitely need a goalkeeper. So you'd hope we get both of those over the line. Do we? I'm not sure, but you're in a predicting game there of, who knows. So yeah, like I said, hard to make big season predictions without seeing what our squad looks like. I think we start the season with the first 5 games. Statistically by up to the hardest start anyone has in the league. So I think we'll know all that after those 5 games. Let's say that, and after the signings we make.
Yeah, and hopefully after pre-season we'll have a bit more idea as well about where the squad's at, who he's seeing in which positions, who are his starters. And I'm hoping before we come back from USA that we've got at least 1, if not 2 more players in. Season kicks off on the 17th, but then the transfer window is still open for a couple of weeks after that. But it's never ideal to be bringing in players after the start of the season. But it's usually the way with us. That's what we hoped under Ineos, that things would change. But I don't know. Are they changing? Do you feel that our transfer business has improved under Ineos, or it's still jury's out on that?
Not particularly. I mean, last summer was a mixed bag. We spent 20 odd million on Dorgu in January, which again, jury's out there. Feels like a bit of an overpay though. And then we've paid a player's release fee in Cunha, and now we've spent 6 weeks playing for a player who we probably, by the payment terms, which we did well on, but I think we've ended up paying pretty much what Brentford wanted. So it's hard to say, great job Ineos or anything. All depends on how the players work out now. But yeah, there's nothing that makes you think, wow, these guys really know what they're doing. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I do actually think that most of last summer's signings have been pretty decent. Mazraoui, De Ligt, I'm happy with. Ugarte, I'm happy with, even though others don't seem so happy. I think he actually had a pretty decent first season and was just towards the end of the year. I think you could see him being tired and that he'd struggled with how many games he played in his first year. But I think as he gets used to the pace and fitness of the Premier League, I think he is a very good player. Dorgu is the one I'm unsure about, and Xerxes was also the one that we were a bit unsure about. But he also, towards the end of the year, started showing that he could potentially be a Man United player. And it was a shame. We missed him. We missed him at the end of the year, didn't we? We could have done with him, even though we did kind of rush him back for that Europa League. I don't think he was ready to, but he did come back into there. So I think most of the signings last summer seemed better, and there wasn't anyone we paid crazy money for. This summer they've gone for Premier League proven and paid the kind of premium for it, but I do also think that makes sense. I mean, in the background, there's a lot of young players we're still picking up. There was another French guy that we've picked up who's gone straight out on loan to Lausanne, which is the other Ineos club. It's the first time we see the kind of Ineos multi-club model in play here. So, picked up a kind of rated youngster from Le Havre in France and sent him straight on loan to the Swiss league. And there's quite a few other youngsters bubbling around. There's Seko Kone, who people thought might be going on loan, but is going on tour. Because again, I think he's another one that Ruben Amorim wants to have a close look at and see whether he thinks he's ready to be part of the squad. And, he was pretty open, Amorim, that people like Obi Mikel, Heaven, he wasn't sure himself if there were ones who were ready to come straight into the squad or if there were ones who kind of had potential were going to have a loan out. But Heaven now seems like a great buy for nearly free, and will definitely be part of the squad. And Chido Obi, well, yeah, I don't know where we're at with him at the moment, and whether he's one who is going to be one of our striker options, or again, is he one who needs a loan? We'll see by the end of this kind of pre-season. Ineos are definitely going for that model of trying to pick up exciting young players and hoping they'll develop, and even if you kind of sell them on. It's something we used to do well as an academy. You remember under Fergie, there'd always be players who'd have a few kind of games around United, and then we'd get in some decent money for these players, even if they weren't quite United quality. But in recent times, it seems that we just give these players away for free, and then mostly they disappear.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said sell them off, sell all the youngsters off, get some money. Because honestly, if someone came in now and I know they won't, but say someone wanted Toby Collier for 20 million, I'd be like, yeah, cool. I mean, he might make it, but he probably won't. Get a sell on clause in there and off you pop. I mean, that's what Chelsea do, it's what Liverpool do, it's what City do. City do it in abundance, really. And then, you buy them back if you need to, but obviously it goes wrong sometimes with City selling Palmer, etc. But generally, and I mean, you could argue Liverpool, I've completely forgotten his name, Spurs striker, who they bought from Bournemouth, Solanke. So Liverpool sold off Solanke, didn't they, as a youngster? Could you say that's haunted them? Not really. I mean, he's a decent player, but, it's not really haunted them much. So, these you kind of get over it. So, yeah, most youngsters should be looking to get out if they don't make it, or even if they look on the verge. I mean, yes, Langer's gone for 55 million now, but I still don't think the club were that wrong in selling him for, 19 million back at the time.
No, I think that was all right at the time. Like I say, compare that to Alvaro that we let go for virtually free. That's where it kind of kills you. 19 million for Langer was fine. It was good money at that time. We're okay with it. As I said, I mentioned Angel Gomez, who now, has got back in the England squad, is around the fringes, was available for a free. I think the club did want to keep him. He left on a free transfer, has done well in France.
He wanted to leave. And again, if we'd sold him back then for I don't know, 10 million, just picking a number out. Yeah, he played for England a couple of times. He's on a free, but you wouldn't be like, oh, we've really lost one there. You'd probably be like, yeah, cool, we made 10 million. That's grand.
Yeah, we will see. I did want to just mention that the Women's Euros are going on. We are recording this on Tuesday. Lionesses playing in the semi-final versus Italy tonight. Good luck to them. Ella Toon has had a decent tournament. Not many of our other Man United women have, actually. A lot of them have been kind of fringe players on the bench. Saw Melvin Mallard smash one against the bar late on in their France quarter-final when they went out against Germany. And a couple of our Norwegians have been involved, but they were the ones who actually lost to Italy, who are playing England tonight. You've been following much of those women's Euros, Imran?
I watched a bit of the 2-2 game, the England and the penalties, and then I watched a bit of this France-Germany one. This is around the time semi-final, final. That's when I'll get into it. The problem is the Test cricket's on. That takes up all your time, doesn't it? As you well know, Nick, big lover of Test cricket that you are.
Not me. The Test cricket takes up absolutely zero of my time. I have been watching plenty of the women's Euros. Lionesses have not been brilliant so far. That Sweden game was a great one. I know my daughter was almost crying at half time, and I nearly told her to go to bed because it just looked like we were fizzling out 2-0. But Serena Wiedmann did the right changes. 2-2, then the worst set of penalties you will ever see in your life, but Lionesses managed to come through them. And then there was a lot of stuff saying, women can't take penalties, but the France-Germany penalty shootout the day after was an absolute corker, some great penalties in that one. But we know what always happens, Germany always win on penalties. But yeah, Italy are a bit of surprise semi-finalists. Will not be easy for Lionesses tonight, but yeah, fingers crossed they get through it, and it looks like everybody's expecting it's going to be another Spain-England final. But no, I've not been watching any cricket. I've watched plenty of this. And I also watched a bit of the Club World Cup. People maligned it. I didn't find it that brilliant, but it was football. It was on. And I did watch a few of the matches. I was a bit sad to see Chelsea win it in the end. I do not want to be hearing Chelsea fans saying they're world champions for the next 4 years. That's the last thing you want to be hearing. But officially, they are. I did have to correct, though, a Chelsea mate of mine. He sent me this kind of Venn diagram of clubs who've won, which cups everybody's won. And it had Manchester United as Champions League winners, Europa League winners, and it had Chelsea in the middle as having won everything. People seem to forget the Club World Cup is not a new competition. Manchester United won the Club World Cup in 2008. Do you remember that, Imran? Do you know who did we beat in the final of the Club World Cup in 2008?
I remember the game was in like Japan, and Ryan Giggs got man of the match. But I can't tell you. Was it Palmeiras?
Fully enough, normally it's always Brazilian or sometimes Argentinian teams. We beat LDU Quito. Somehow
right.
They were like the top dogs in South America that year. And, for many years, each continent just sent one team. So there was basically 7-8 teams in the Club World Cup. And now they've suddenly gone to 32, which I think is a bit crazy. You kind of think you might have just said, right, let's start with 16. But they decided to go straight to 32. But yeah, we have been Club World Cup champions. We did also win whatever the previous one was, Intercontinental Cup, I think, in 99 too. We have the chant, don't we? World champions twice. Once more than England. World champions twice. We rolled that one out at Old Trafford now and again. So yeah, I had to correct my Chelsea mate who seems to think they've won the first ever Club World Cup. You definitely haven't. That tournament has been going for a while. So there's several winners of it, and we were one of them before. I think that about rounds us up for this podcast. As I said, we've been waiting for some news. There was at least things going on now. We will at least have some pre-season games to watch. I think we'll have to get Ushwin on from USA because they're all at crazy times to start with, midnight, 2:30 in the morning. But I'm assuming he will watch these because that's his time zone. So we'll get his feedback on how Amarin is getting this team playing. Unless you've got anything to add, Imran, I think that's it from us for now.
Nope, all good from me. Cheers, guys.
All right, yeah, go and check us out, by the way, on the socials. We'll be seeing our new logo and everything rolling out for the new season. And yeah, we're always sporadic in the summer. But yeah, as we build up to the season going again, we're going to try and do a couple more. And then, of course, we'll be back weekly as the season kicks off. But yeah, that's it from us. And goodbye for now.
Cheers.